I am Steve Zhang. I'm the director of the SOAS China Institute. On behalf of SOAS, let me welcome you all to the 7th WSD Handa Distinguished Lecture at SOAS. As some of you may know, this is a series of lectures by distinguished scholars or practitioners renowned for their scholarships or insights based on policymaking and engaging with China and its people. Previous distinguished Handa lecturers who have spoken on China are Sir John Keyes, former Prime Minister of New Zealand, Professor Tom Christensen of Columbia University, Tony Abbott, former Prime Minister of Australia, Professor Barry Norton of UC San Diego, and Professor Yasheng Huang of MIT. The speaker of today's lecture is Dr. Kao Kin Hourn. Dr. Kao is the Secretary General of ASEAN, a position he has held since January 2023. He is also a member of the Supreme National Economic Council of Cambodia, a senior fellow of the Jeffrey Cheat Institute on Southeast Asia, and a member of the Global Council of the Asia Society. He had a distinguished record serving the government of Cambodia, culminating in his decade-long service as Minister Delegate attached to the Prime Minister for nearly a decade from 2013 to 2022. Dr. Gao was educated at Baylor University, Ohio University, and the University of Hawaii at Manoa, where he received his PhD. He is the author of dozens of books and articles on Cambodia and on ASEAN. In his long career of public service, he had established the University of Cambodia in 2003 and served as its founding president until 2022. His long public service has been widely recognized. He is the recipient of the Royal Order of Cambodia, the Royal Order of Suwathara, and the Grand Order of National Merit, as well as honorary doctorates that he has received from Ohio University in the United States, the Kalinga Institute of Industrial Technology in India, and the Pusan University of Foreign Studies in the Republic of Korea. Today's lecture marks the beginning of the second series of WSD Handa lectures at SOAS, and the subject is ASEAN-China Comprehensive Strategic Partnership. Now, on this occasion, and we don't normally have that, but on this occasion, I'm pleased to let you know that representing WSD is its Vice Chair, Sir Tim Lancaster. And Sir Tim was also previously a director, or in fact, the director of SOAS. So before I hand the floor to Dr. Gao for the lecture, let me invite Tim to say a few words about WSD and its relationship with SOAS. And then the lecture begins. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Steve. Yes, I was indeed director of SOAS exactly 25 years ago. It's a great pleasure to be back here. But my role tonight is not to indulge in nostalgia for the great times I had here, and perhaps forgetting some of the not perfect times here. But SOAS is a great institution, and I still have a library card. When I left here, I was offered a library card until 2025, because I was told by the chairman of the board that I might be lucky to get beyond 2025. Well, here I am in 2026. So I've had my my card renewed. But I'm here as Vice Chairman of Worldwide Support for Development, which is one of Dr. Haruhisi Handa's charitable foundations. Dr. Handa is one of Japan's leading philanthropists, and he's funded many programs and projects and institutions around the world, notably in Cambodia, Australia, New Zealand, USA, Southern Africa, and SOAS. His relationship to SOAS goes back exactly 30 years ago, when he, without just a few hours of warning, he walked into my office over there and announced he wished to enroll for a PhD at SOAS. And he told me that he had a good degree from Doshisha University in Japan. And I, without consulting anybody, I said, well, we would be delighted to have Dr. Handa enroll. He said, what do I need to do? Well, I said, well, you have to spend at least one term per year here. And he said, well, that's completely impossible. I might be able to manage a week. Well, we negotiated for a while. In the end, it was impossible for Dr. Handa to enroll here. But SOAS and Dr. Handa have stayed very close over the last 30 years. He has funded many projects, cultural learning projects here. He even funded the Japanese garden on the roof, which I guess is not doing too well today. Dr. Handa's relationship with SOAS goes back many years, and I know Steve and others at SOAS are very grateful for the support he's given. He's funded many other projects in the UK, at the London School for Tropical Medicine, Hygiene and Tropical Medicine, Oxford University, Edinburgh University, St Andrews University, University of East Anglia. He has been a notable donor for education and research in this country. I'm absolutely delighted that Dr. Kim Hourn is here today, and I'm delighted also to welcome him. I met Dr. Hourn when he was a senior minister in Cambodia, and I met you in Oxford a couple of years ago. Dr. Kim Hourn is one of the most distinguished public servants in Asia today, ASEAN, the organization he heads, is growing in importance. And this is for two reasons. ASEAN countries have been working hard under his leadership to improve their political and economic coordination. But secondly, we do live in a new world, no longer the unipolar or bipolar world that we had, as Prime Minister Carney of Canada a couple of weeks ago explained. The old structures and the old thinking is obsolete. We have to think in new ways. And in that sense, ASEAN as a bloc is part of this new variable geometry, just like Europe is, and just like Latin America is. And I think, therefore, Dr. Kim Hourn's comments today will be particularly pertinent, because he will, I think, be telling us how ASEAN is responding in this new world, and in particular to the challenge of China. Thank you so much, Dr. Kim Hourn.
Thank you very much, team. Dr. Kam. Thank you. Professor Steve Sang, Director of the SOAS China Institute, Professor Sir Tim Lancaster, Excellencies, distinct members of faculty, students, ladies and gentlemen. Over the past decade, building global partnership and international integration has shifted from the edges of the post-Cold War era to an approach that is increasingly questioned. Amid deepening strategic mistrust among major powers, economic interdependence is often portrayed as vulnerability rather than strength, and multilateral institutions are more frequently dismissed than relied upon.
In many parts of the world, cooperation is no longer assumed to be the default response to shared challenges. Against this backdrop, the ASEAN-China Comprehensive Strategic Partnership presents an analytical puzzle. Why has a relationship spanning different political systems, political development stages, and power asymmetries not only endure, but continue to deepen? What explains its capacity to advance peace, prosperity, and progress at a time when many partners elsewhere are fleeing? It is these questions that I would like to explore and share my view today. Before doing so, allow me to express my sincere appreciation to Professor Steve Tsang and the SOAS China Institute for the kind invitation to deliver the 2026 WSD Handa Distinguished Annual Lecture. It is my honor to speak at SOAS, an institution well known for its rigorous scholarship on Asia and its contribution to informed debate on global affairs. This year is particularly significant for ASEAN-China relations, as we mark the 35th anniversary of the establishment of the ASEAN-China dialogue relations and the 5th anniversary of the ASEAN-China Comprehensive Strategic Partnership. These milestones offer an opportunity not merely to take stock of past achievements, but to reflect on the broader significance of this partnership in a rapidly changing international environment. Excellency, members of faculty, students, ladies and gentlemen, peace in Southeast Asia has never been defined by the absence of strategic competition. Rather, it has been shaped by the recognition that differences must be managed through sustained dialogue, pursued diplomacy, shared norms, and inclusive institutions. This principle lies at the heart of ASEAN's approach to regional order building, and it has also influenced the evolution of China's engagement with the region. Since the establishment of ASEAN-China dialogue relations in 1991 and their elevation to a strategic partnership in 2003, and subsequently to a comprehensive strategic partnership in 2021, cooperation between ASEAN and China has expanded steadily across political security, economic, social, cultural, and connectivity domains. Today, ASEAN and China maintain 66 bilateral cooperation mechanisms, the highest number ASEAN has with any dialogue partner, reflecting a shared determination to deepen cooperation across all domains where opportunities for mutual benefit exist. China's engagement with ASEAN also reflects its own evolving approach to regional security, diplomacy, and development. It was among the first dialogue partners to accede to the 1976 Treaty of Amity and Cooperation in South Asia, or the TAC, in October 2003, signaling its support for ASEAN's core principle of peaceful coexistence, mutual respect, non-interference, and the renunciation of the threat or use of force. China has also distinguished itself as the first nuclear weapon state to express its readiness to accede without reservations to the protocol of the Southeast Asian Nuclear Weapon-Free Zone Treaty, or SOAS Treaty, reinforcing ASEAN's long-standing aspiration to keep the region free of nuclear weapons and other weapons of mass destruction. Sensitive issues have also been addressed through agreed frameworks between ASEAN and China. The Declaration on the Conduct of Parties in the South China Sea, signed in 2002, followed by the ongoing negotiation on the Code of Conduct in the South China Sea, or COC, reflects our sustained effort to manage maritime tensions through confidence building and rules-based processes. ASEAN and China remain committed to the full and effective implementation of the DOC in its entirety, and we are working closely towards an effective and substantive COC with an agreed aim of concluding by the middle of this year. Apart from the ASEAN-China bilateral mechanism, China's political security engagement in the region has been channeled through ASEAN-led platforms, including the ASEAN Plus 3, the East Asia Summit, the ASEAN Regional Forum, the ASEAN Defense Ministers Meeting Plus, and the expanded ASEAN Maritime Forum. China's sustained participation in this mechanism reflects its growing interest and investment in multilateral approaches to regional stability and a recognition of ASEAN's central role in convening inclusive dialogue and practical cooperation on regional security challenges. In the defense sector, China has actively co-chaired several ASEAN Defense Meeting Plus ADM expert working groups with ASEAN member states on humanitarian assistance and disaster relief with Vietnam from 2011 to 2013, on counterterrorism with Thailand from 2017 to 2020, on humanitarian mine action with Cambodia from 2021 to 2023, and currently on peacekeeping operations with Brunei Jerusalem for 2024-2027 cycle. China was also the first dialogue partner to convene an informal ASEAN-China Defense Ministerial meeting and has held 14 such meetings since 2011. Taken together, these efforts suggest that securing peace through nurturing ASEAN-China relations has been sustained not by denying strategic realities, but by embedding them within institutions and processes that encourage restraint, dialogue, and mutual beneficial cooperation, including in the economic domain. Excellency, distinguished members of faculties, students, ladies and gentlemen, from its founding in 1967, ASEAN has placed economic cooperation at the center of its vision for regional stability and prosperity, a commitment that has guided the bloc through decades of growth and change. Today, ASEAN stands as the world's fifth largest economy and projected to become the fourth largest by 2030. Despite heightened global economic uncertainties and geopolitical tensions, the region is expected to grow from 4.4% to 4.5% this year. China has been a central partner in this economic transformation. It has been ASEAN's largest trading partner for the past 16 consecutive years since 2009, while ASEAN has been China's largest trading partner since 2019, or the past 6 consecutive years. Importantly, this economic relationship has evolved alongside China's own development trajectory. As China's economy transformed and moved up the value chain, ASEAN-China cooperation expanded from trade in goods to include more extensive investment, industrial cooperation, digital technologies, green development, environmental protection, climate action, and innovation. I just want to add that between ASEAN and China, we have over 2 billion people. So that number is very significant in terms of the population. This deepening interdependence has been anchored in a shared commitment to a rules-based multilateral trading system. China was the first dialogue partner to propose a free trade agreement leading up to the signing of the ASEAN-China Free Trade Area in 2002. The ASEAN-China FTA has since undergone continuous upgrades, most recently with the signing of the ASEAN-China FTA 3.0 upgrade protocol at the 28th ASEAN-China Summit in October last year. The Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement, which entered into force in 2022, has further deepened ASEAN-China economic integration within the regional supply chains. As the world's largest regional free trade agreement, SOAS provides ASEAN and its partners, including China, with a platform to further lower trade barriers, improve market access for goods and services, and support the participation of micro, small, and medium enterprises. At the moment, RCEP is accounted for about 30% of the global population and 30% of the global GDP. It is important to note that more than half of the 66 ASEAN-China cooperation mechanisms are in the economic sector, covering areas such as intellectual property, consumer protection, science and technology, agriculture, customs, transportation, and the green and digital economies. These mechanisms have allowed cooperation to remain adaptive and responsive as global economic structures and technologies continue to evolve. ASEAN-China trade and investment ties are also supported by the annual China-ASEAN Expo, held in Nanning since 2004. The 22nd CAI Expo convened in September 2025 under the theme Digital and Intelligent Empowerment for Development, Innovation, Leading the Future, featured for the first time dedicated pavilions on the blue economy and artificial intelligence, reflecting sheer interest in emerging drivers of growth, particularly between ASEAN and China. At a time when economic nationalism and protectionism are re-emerging globally, ASEAN-China economic cooperation sends a clear signal that openness, integration, and innovation remain viable and mutually beneficial pathways to shared prosperity. Progress requires more than sustaining existing arrangements. It demands the capacity to adapt to structural change. In this regard, ASEAN's adoption of ASEAN 2045, our shared future at the 46th ASEAN Summit in May last year, represent an important step forward. For the first time, ASEAN has articulated a long-term 20-year outlook that anticipates global megatrends, including technological disruption, demographic shifts, climate change, digital transformation, and intensifying geopolitical competition. ASEAN 2045 seeks to build a resilient, innovative, dynamic, people-centered, and a future-ready region. External partners, including China, have an important role to play in supporting this vision through concrete cooperative projects and programs aligned with ASEAN strategic plans. And I want to share with you that we have many partners. Among the dialogue partners we have include not just China, but China, Japan, Korea, Australia, New Zealand, India, Canada, the United States, and of course the European Union and the Russian Federation. So these are the partners that ASEAN have been working together. But here, since we focus on China, and that's why we focus on my remarks focus entirely on China, and of course with ASEAN. China's capabilities in areas such as digital transformation, artificial intelligence, technological innovation, sustainable development, and connectivity position as an important partner in ASEAN's efforts to prepare for the next phase of our regional development. The challenge and opportunity lies in ensuring that these capabilities are harnessed in ways that are inclusive, transparent, and aligned with ASEAN's priorities. Despite trends toward insulation and fragmentation seen elsewhere in the world, ASEAN has proactively leveraged its convening power to strengthen inter-regional connectivity, linking China with other regions. In fact, in May last year, ASEAN convened its first ever summit with the Gulf Cooperation Council, GCC, and China, bringing together three regions with diverse yet complementary economic strengths. Leaders agreed to enhance cooperation in areas including connectivity, energy security, and sustainability, digital transformation, food and agriculture, innovation, and people-to-people exchanges. This trilateral summit was held back-to-back with the second ASEAN-GCC summit, where both sides agreed to undertake a feasibility study on ASEAN-GCC free trade agreement. This would be the first region-to-region FTA that we're looking at. Should such an agreement materialize, it could open new opportunities for broader ASEAN-GCC-China economic cooperation in the future. Excellency, members of faculty, students, ladies and gentlemen. True progress in international cooperation is measured not only by policies and institutions, but ultimately by the tangible impact on people's lives. ASEAN-China social cultural cooperation reflects a shared commitment to human development, resilience, and mutual understanding. Cooperation spans public health, education, culture, labor, and social security, youth sports, poverty reduction, media, and disaster management. People-to-people exchanges have long been a central pillar of the partnership. ASEAN and China have designated several thematic years for cultural exchange, education, tourism, media cooperation, and more recently, the ASEAN-China years of people-to-people exchanges in 2024 and 2025. In the field of education, initiatives such as the ASEAN-China Young Leaders Scholarship Program have provided valuable opportunities for ASEAN nationals to study in top Chinese universities and participate in Chinese training courses, fostering deeper understanding, networks, and lasting connection between the next generations of leaders. ASEAN and China also work closely during and after the COVID-19 pandemic to mitigate its impact and strengthen regional preparedness. This cooperation has led to meaningful initiatives such as the ASEAN-China Public Health Cooperation Initiative, Program on Public Health Emergency Preparedness Capacity, which aims to strengthen health emergency system and enhance regional pandemic response. In disaster management, ASEAN and China have held annual bilateral consultations since 2021 to address increasingly complex disaster landscape. China also has been a constructive partner of the ASEAN Coordinating Center for Humanitarian Assistance on Disaster Management, or what we call the ASEAN Center, including contribution of support to support the humanitarian assistance and earthquake recovery in our member states such as Myanmar. These initiatives underscore the reciprocal and people-centered nature of the ASEAN-China partnership, extending cooperation beyond governments to societies so as to foster long-lasting connections, understanding, and trust. Advancing peace, prosperity, and progress is not the responsibility of governments alone. Academic institutions play a critical role in generating ideas, informing policy debates, and nurturing future leaders. Universities provide spaces where complex relationships, like the one between ASEAN and China, can be examined critically, comparatively, and constructively. In this context, I encourage the SOAS China Institute to deepen engagement with academic counterparts across ASEAN member states and to contribute practical and innovative ideas for implementing cooperation under the ASEAN Outlook on the Indo-Pacific, or AOIP. Such exchanges have translated strategic concepts into concrete cooperation and strengthened the intellectual foundation of long-term partnership. Let me close by saying that the ASEAN-China Comprehensive Strategic Partnership is neither static nor guaranteed. It is a work in progress that must continually adapt to the changing realities. What has sustained it over the past 3.5 decades is the shared commitment to dialogue, mutual benefit, and a long-term perspective. Even when circumstances are difficult and progress is incremental. Developments beyond our region further highlight the enduring relevance of this approach. A recent high-level engagement between China and European partners, including Prime Minister Keir Starmer's recent visit to China, underscore a growing recognition that cooperation and competition must be managed together, not treated as mutually exclusive. In an increasingly polarized international environment, dialogue and institutional engagement are again being seen as necessary tools to navigate disruptions, safeguard stability, and advance shared development. In this respect, the ASEAN-China Comprehensive Strategic Partnership offers valuable insight for others seeking to navigate an increasingly complex world. By prioritizing openness and inclusivity, adhering to a shared rules and sustaining long-term engagement, it demonstrates that the pursuit of peace and prosperity is most effective when built on mutual respect and cooperation rather than unilateralism and isolation. If these principles continue to guide our cooperation, I'm confident that ASEAN and China will continue to strengthen ties and achieve meaningful outcomes, not only for our region, but as a constructive contribution to a more stable and cooperative international order. Thank you very much for your kind attention. I look forward to your questions. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Kao, for presenting a very reassuring and positive analysis on the relationship between ASEAN and China. I think it's very helpful to actually see how much cooperation there are and how well that cooperation have been working. You also, in your lecture, talk about not only the cooperations between ASEAN and China, the cooperations among ASEAN member states itself as it was being founded. So if I may start off for the discussion by asking you, where do you see things moving forward? Where do you see things moving forward? Thank you, Fionn. Do you see moving forward that ASEAN will be focused in the next 10, 20, 30 years kind of time frame? Do you see ASEAN focusing more on building up ASEAN and unity within ASEAN and mechanism within ASEAN to make it work more effectively as a regional multinational organization? Or do you see ASEAN focusing more on engaging with China and building up the partnerships with China? Is there a consensus within ASEAN in terms of which way it will be going?
Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Professor Stephen Sang. ASEAN has been working on, first of all, building its own community. 10 years ago, we launched the first phase of ASEAN community building, and that is ASEAN Community Vision 2025, which is completed. And we're now embarking on the implementation of the second phase, and that is a 20-year vision, 2026 until 2045. So that is something that we are not taking it lightly. So within ASEAN, we have to address our own challenges. In particular, as you know, we have a political crisis in Myanmar that we need to address. We have a border dispute between two member states, Cambodia and Thailand. We have a relationship, particularly between the Philippines and China. I'm saying this because I don't want to paint all rosy picture, but meaning these challenges that we have to address. But I would say that in the past 59 years, ASEAN has been through so much already, addressing the domestic challenges, but at the same time, how we are working to manage our external relations. Our engagement is not just exclusively with China, but we work with the United States, Australia, New Zealand, Japan, Korea, the EU, Russia, India, among others. So I think what's important now is that we have 7 bilateral FTAs that we need to consolidate. Our bilateral FTAs with China, with Japan, with Korea, Australia, New Zealand, India, and Hong Kong, China. At the same time now, we are working to finalize the negotiation for the FTA with Canada, the first country in North America. So on the economic front, we are very much focused on making sure that what's happening in the world, that we should minimize the impact on the regional economy. But also we need to diversify this with other markets, with our partners. At the same time, I just want to say that we are working on something very significant, and that is we are expected to conclude the negotiation for the ASEAN Digital Economy Framework Agreement. It's the first region-wide legally binding agreement that will, if we can maximize this agreement, we will have $2 trillion digital economy. So I think we're working to consolidate our relation with our partners on the one hand, but at the same time to make sure that we are able to maintain peace, stability, and security within the region.
Well, thank you. I do notice that amongst your multinational partners, that one that was missing, obviously, is the United Kingdom. The floor is open, and I will come to you. And I would just like to encourage more people to raise your hands. I'll try to catch my eyes. I've seen the gentleman here in the middle first, and then I'll come to you, sir. And then I'll come to you the third. Yes, sir.
Thank you so much for your lecture, Dr. Kim Hourn. I'm originally from Thailand, and every time I go back, I notice the significance or the rising significance of the increase in private investments from China. Now, historically, China has been mostly a public investor in Southeast Asia. Examples include the high-speed rail project or the Funan-Techo Canal happening in Cambodia right now. But now we're seeing, along with the, as you have said, the rise of China in the global supply chain, also see a lot of brands, intellectual property, and just private capital flowing outside of China, especially into urban economies in Southeast Asia like Thailand, Malaysia, Indonesia, and Vietnam. Where do you see this trend evolving, and is ASEAN doing anything to capture the value from that exchange, maybe in terms of knowledge transfer or anything of that sort? Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. China is not the number one source of FDI for ASEAN. It is United States ranked top as the number one, followed by the EU. So China is third in terms of FDI. But I want to add on UK. UK ranks number 4, all right, in terms of FDI. But we don't have FTA between ASEAN and UK. We do have a lot of trade now. It's roughly about almost $40 billion. But our trade between ASEAN and China last year is $1 trillion. So you can see the number there. But we continue to work. It means that we still have more room to work between ASEAN and UK. But to come back to your question is that we welcome investment from all our partners and beyond. And we have to diversify. Of course, in fact, we look at FDI inflows in the region. In 2024, we were able to attract $230 billion into the region. It's the highest among the development regions around the world. Now, of course, we want to make sure that these are going to the private sectors, the sector that we want to see, but we also want to have quality of investment, not just any investment. And I think that's important. So for us, of course, the priority areas now is energy sector, particularly clean and renewable energy. And that's where our leaders have decided to focus on the ASEAN power grid, connecting all the member states together. Now, for this big or called mega project, we expect to have $800 billion of investment in this project that will connecting all the infrastructure in the region. The World Bank, the Asian Development Bank, the EU, they put in initial studies to look at how this could be done to attract the private sector investment. Also, in the area of the digital economy, as just mentioned earlier, this is significant. We're working on this. So one area where universities and training institutions need to support is where we're going to require a lot of training. particularly in digital skills as we move toward the digital economy. And I want to underline right now that the ASEAN economy is rely on the micro, small, and medium enterprises, MSME, which constitute about 90% of our economy there. So that's where the money, the investment should go. And I believe that right now we are attracting a lot of interest, particularly to invest in the various ASEAN member states in ASEAN. Thank you.
Thank you. The gentleman at the back, and then I'll come to you, sir.
Thank you for a very interesting talk, Dr. Cao. It is often said that the Chinese government's quote on trading with China as a win-win situation means actually 2 wins for China. And given that in the last 10 or 15 years, China has pursued quite an aggressive foreign policy in the South China Sea and the East China Sea. Could you just say a little more about how ASEAN manages the relationship with what many people see as, in the Chinese Communist Party, a dangerous predator?
Well, thank you very much. I work on the South China Sea issues, and I started my career back in 2001. So between ASEAN and China, we negotiated for some time, and then in 2002, we finally came to an agreement, and we signed the first document called the Declaration on the Code of Conduct of Parties in the South China Sea between the 10 foreign ministers of ASEAN and the Chinese foreign minister, who happened to be the current Chinese foreign minister Wang Yi. Now, of course, this DOC is to promote confidence buildings and to undertake certain activities together. By 2011, we were able to have the guidelines on how to undertake various activities and projects together, including scientific research, among others. And of course, situation evolved because we have a lot of interest from multinational corporations exploring what we call resources in different areas of South China Sea. That's where things got a little bit tense there. But by 2017, both us and China agree that we would need to negotiate for a code of conduct. So a little bit much more than what we signed back in 2002. From 2017 until today, we are working to negotiate. And we agree that within this year, more likely in July or the latest before the end of this year, we should have a code of conduct to manage the tensions between ASEAN and China. Now, for the bilateral claims between each member state of ASEAN and China, this will have to be negotiated separately through the international law and the 1982 UN Convention on the Law of the Sea. But between ASEAN and China, we will focus very much on how to make sure that we make the South China Sea a sea of peace, friendship, cooperation. We want to make sure that we are able to reduce tension, we manage any differences. So this is, I think, the process that we've been working together now. So I believe that we can conclude this code of conduct within this year because we have intensified the negotiation already. In particular, we have what we call a series of scheduled meetings and with timelines where we're going to conclude this code of conduct. So this is what I can comment on where we are right now on the South China Sea. Thank you.
Okay. I'll have the gentleman there first, and then I'll come to the other side. And here as well.
Thank you for a very interesting talk. Maybe I could follow up a little bit on the digital economy. In particular, what is ASEAN doing? Could you explain a little bit more around some of the areas, on the one hand, promoting a digital economy, but also stopping barriers? For example, data protection laws and things. IP can be used as barriers to commerce rather than just enablers of good practice and preventing crime. So maybe say a bit more about how you're tackling those type of issues.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much. Member states of ASEAN have agreed that the digital economy will have to be very ambitious. It cannot be an agreement that will be outdated very quickly. This means that not all member states will be able to come on board on the first round. So we will take a flexible approach, a two-tier approach. Those member states that are ready to move ahead will move ahead first, and others will come on board later on. Because in the current negotiation, we focus on e-commerce, digital payments, privacy, data privacy, big data, particular way we're going to put big data center, transport data, cybersecurity, among others. This is the sort of thing that we are being negotiated. And it will be sorted out because we're now much closer. In fact, we reached about 74% of the negotiation by October last year. And this year we expect to conclude it and to have it signed by the second ASEAN Summit in November this year. After that, we will proceed with the ratification process. But I'm confident that with the current negotiation, we will have it concluded in this year. So it's going to be very ambitious, and we will focus also on the digital skill training and to make sure that we have the digital infrastructure we put in place across the member states.
I've got one question here, and then the lady here, and then I'll come back to you. No, the other gentleman first, and then...
Hi, so Dr. Tseng raised how there are different normative versions of how ASEAN ought to operate. But I guess my question is relating to how do you, as the current ASEAN Secretary General, view how ASEAN is going to navigate both potentially unified action, both economically and diplomatically, as a paternalistic body, when there are clearly divided vested interests from oppositional powers, with Vietnam receiving historic massive investments from CICC and the Chinese government, Cambodia having their Chinese security concerns guaranteed by the Chinese government, and the Philippines arguably being a satellite state of the States, and also the Thailand having significant protectionist policies from the States as well. And in extension to that, to the digital concern and the digital rise of the digital market in ASEAN, does ASEAN have any potential protectionist policies regarding the prevention of excess privatization of the digital space, which scholars such as Tim Wu point out have caused dangers in the West, such as the States and the UK, which has led to a more negative outcome, both economically and sort of, I guess, politically?
I think you're asking the most difficult questions. Well, if I could understand you, what you have asking me, that different member states pursuing different policies. You have the Philippines, you talk about Vietnam, Cambodia, Thailand, and others. Well, first of all, we have the trade in goods. Well, I think let me start this. Initially, we launched what is considered to be the ASEAN Free Trade Area. Then we transform this into the ASEAN Economic Community. After that, we started negotiating for the ASEAN Trade and Good Agreement. Now we move on to upgrade it, because what is codified in the ASEAN Charter is to make sure we move toward become a single market and production base within the region. So the goal is to reduce tariffs to 0-0. At the same time, to reduce the non-tariff barriers. This is the most critical issue, because member states, they always use the sensitive list, where they put the certain items as in the exclusive list. That is something that we have to resolve now with the sign of the upgrade of the ASEAN Trade and Goods Agreement. So that's something I think is very ambitious. Once it's been ratified within this year, I believe that it will open the door to more intra-ASEAN trade. So we cannot have a different policy, because within ASEAN now is that we have to bring down tariffs. And we have to work together, because otherwise the external factor will have a major impact on the ASEAN economy. And of course, both collectively and individually. So whether we China engage ASEAN member state, we know that the same policy will apply within ASEAN, because we are building a single market and production base. Now, what Chinese investors have been able to do, because before we would ask why China would invest in ASEAN, at the same time why other investors would invest in ASEAN. The answer would be very simple. Number one, because the market size. We almost have 700 million people. ASEAN is the third largest trading bloc in the world today. So I think that's significant. Second is because we have these bilateral FTAs, as I mentioned, 7 bilateral FTAs now. And of course, we have more in the work in the progress. At the same time, some of our member states have their FTAs directly with the US, with the EU and others, including the UK also. So that's where the advantages come in, and that's where they want to invest. So it's natural for investors to look at the region, they want to invest in sector that they have competitive advantage. For example, in the case of UK, Standard Chartered Bank is interested in green financing. That's where the priority of ASEAN today. So they look at this, they want to invest. Now they want to invest in the ASEAN power grid, because ASEAN power grid is a big requirement for ASEAN. So I think that's why there's a lot of discussion now here in UK among the private companies, but of course also in China, Japan, and Korea and others. And I want to say, for example, a certain thing that the Chinese want to do is that they set up a factory in certain member states to produce EVs, like BYD, for example. They would invest billions of dollars in Thailand to produce BYD, that they can take advantage of the markets within ASEAN, but of course also for export. So to answer your question is that we may have different policy, national policy, but we come to ASEAN as we work toward become a single market, we have no choice. We have to harmonize and we have to synchronize to work together. Thank you.
Thank you. As they got sorry, are you? Sorry, are you still? The mic is coming to you.
No, I was just going to say, I'd like to abstain from my question for now, and if it's possible, can I speak later about it? I don't want to hold up everyone.
Okay, that's fine. I will have the other lady here first. We'll try to accommodate everybody where we can. Yes.
Thank you for your talk, Dr. Cao. I wanted to ask about ASEAN and China relations, like expanded it in a broader context, especially in relation to the US. So traditionally, ASEAN member states have been very good at hedging in foreign policy and maintaining pretty neutral or good relations at one time or another when it comes to balancing the diplomacy with China and the US. But of course, with the recent escalations in the trade war, I just want to ask how this would play in with the very ambitious plan, the 2026-2030 plan. And yeah, because everything we've talked about, the power grids and the digitization of Southeast Asia, it's quite reliant on FDI. So how would diplomacy play into that? And yeah, what compromises could potentially be made? And does this mean kind of the end of the hedging era where countries will now have to start maybe picking sides between the two as the tensions between the two powers kind of escalate? Like, how would that look like? What do you think?
Well, thank you very much. This is a question that is frequently asked. ASEAN has tried very hard to ensure that it has strategic autonomy by having strategic balance between US and China. And on the one hand, of course, we welcome all the FDIs, but we also have our outbound investment as well. Say here between us and UK, we have ASEAN investment coming in UK as well, not just one way. And between ASEAN and Australia, for example, ASEAN investment outbound to Australia almost double the amount of Australian investment in ASEAN in the same period. So when we talk about a lot of investment coming to the region, that does not mean it's only one way. You know, today investment and trade is always two ways. So that's important to think about this. For China, of course, China is a neighbor as defined by geography, land and maritime. We have no choice to choose whether we have friend and neighbor. So the neighbor's neighbor. But at the same time, US has a lot of interest. They want to engage with us. And of course, we welcome engagement from all the major powers. That's why we have 11 dialogue partners, because we don't want any major power to dominate us. And that's why we chose to engage more partners. That's why we besides US and China, we engage with India. Welcome India on board. We welcome Russia way before the Russian invasion of Ukraine, for example. This year, in fact, we will celebrate the 35th anniversary. We're working on this now between us and Russia. But of course, because of the current situation, is something that we are a little bit more cautious. But having said that, we work with more partners, not just confined to US and ASEAN alone. And as you know, the tariffs that were imposed on member states of ASEAN last year, from 10% to 48%, that was not something member states take it seriously. I mean, they don't take it very lightly. They took it very seriously. That's why we began to deepen our own FTA within ASEAN, and of course work with our partners where we have FTAs to make sure that we don't rely on a particular market for our own economic survival. So I think that's important for ASEAN. But of course, with the US, we continue to work very closely through the existing bilateral engagements that we have, bilateral mechanism, from working group to senior official to ministry level, all the way to the leaders. Last year, we welcomed President Trump to the 13th ASEAN-US Summit, for example. Now, with China, we have so many mechanisms. As mentioned, they have 66 mechanisms of cooperation, cut across from agriculture to education to public health, among others, so many sectors. So basically, we have layers of cooperation and different channels of communication between ASEAN and all the partners that we have. We have 3 groups of partnership. We have the dialogue partnership, we have the sectoral dialogue partnership, we have the development partnership. And right now I want to say that there is a big discussion now within ASEAN because we have a lot of requests to establish formal partnership with ASEAN, like for example Turkey. They have requests to become another dialogue partner. Brazil, for example, also want to become another dialogue partner. Germany requests to upgrade its relationship to become a sectoral dialogue partner from the existing development partner. France has been our development partner, and of course it also interested to elevate its partnership. So I think we have worked across not just 1 or 2 partners. We have so many partners. ASEAN, in the way you can describe us, an organization that has multiple relationships cut across the different interests that we have. Thank you.
Thank you. Gentleman with the pink T-shirt, and then I think there was somebody else here.
Is it on? Oh, cool. Sorry, thank you so much. Dr. Kao, since you've clarified that ASEAN's path isn't a binary choice, I'd like to ask about practical integration of talent. As China moves up the value chain, ASEAN's becoming the world's +1 manufacturing hub. So I'm Indian and Pakistani, my heritage, and so I'm asking, do you see a formal role for the Secretary in creating a digital skills passport that would allow for flow of labor and tech between South Asia to Southeast Asia and then further into Eastern Asia? Effectively, how do we remove the diplomatic centrality to become an actual economic synergy across the Bay of Bengal and then into South China and then beyond? Thank you.
I believe the question is about how ASEAN will engage with the Indian continent and its partnerships as well as China.
With China, we have trade deficit with China. But with India, our FTA with India, we have massive trade surplus with India. So that's why right now we are renegotiating to make sure that the current FTA between us and India would provide opportunities for more companies from both sides to work together. And India is a very important partner for ASEAN in terms of not just market, but also how we link up with people to people right now. I want to say this because before we say the #1 source of tourism used to be and has been China. But in recent years, tourism from India is increasing substantially. And I think it has come up very fast. So we're looking across the different areas ranging from being a market, because we also are a market that's selling, that India can sell a lot of products and services to ASEAN as well. So we want to take advantage of each other between ASEAN and India. But at the same time, we want to look at what more can be done between the two sides. So tourism is one area. Aviation connectivity is increasing. Out of the 11 ASEAN member states right now, we have direct air connectivity with 9 ASEAN member states, direct between India and ASEAN, for example. So that is really on the rise. I would say that we have 2 giants. To the north, of course, of ASEAN is China, and to the west, of course, would be India. India is another neighbor of ASEAN, both as a maritime and land neighbor of ASEAN. So I think we have to take advantage of this. relationship between ASEAN and China is 2 billion, over 2 billion. Between ASEAN and India was also over 2 billion people. So this is really a lot of potential that we need to take advantage of building a win-win cooperation between the two sides.
Well, thank you. I'm afraid this will have to be the last question.
Yes, Your Excellency, thank you for your speech. So my question is, how did ASEAN convince different countries to invest in shared rail and seaports to drive trade? And what was the one lesson for Nigeria as we build our own industrial corridors?
Yes. Well, different member states have different strengths. Okay. Let me share with you that before the announcement of Liberation Day last year, no one knew that Vietnam was trading heavily with the US. But when that was announced, Vietnam was one of the top trading partners with the United States, with massive trade surplus. And Vietnam right now is projected to overtaking Thailand already. So Vietnam has its own competitive advantage there. iPads, for example, used to be produced in China, moved to Vietnam. You know that, right? Apple company. So again, depends on the different companies. Lao PDR, it has its own advantage. It's considered to be the major producer of clean energy. Okay, exporting clean energy to other ASEAN member states. But recently, there is a connection of power transmission between Lao PDR and China. So Lao PDR can sell energy to China as well. Now, of course, Thailand used to be and has been the major regional manufacturing, including for cars, for example. I just mentioned BYD, that's there. But of course, also for medical regional hub as well. In the case of Singapore, it's considered to be a regional financial hub, you see, where, like I mentioned earlier, that U.S. Investment mostly concentrated in Singapore, see, most of FDI. So I think we look at, in the case of Indonesia, this is where a lot of investment into raw materials, right? Before, Indonesia would sell a lot of coal, but now the critical minerals. Again, all of this that we work together on the basis of what would be the strengths of each ASEAN member state. But one thing that is very clear that we are working together very closely, and that is tourism sector. All right, tourism sector is growing. Before COVID-19, we have 140 million tourists. Now we bounce back to almost around that number. We are working to look at around 200 million tourists per annum that they would visit ASEAN. In terms of other manufacturing, of course, that like electronics, semiconductors, in the case of Malaysia, that's big. You know, Malaysia export a lot of that to the US. So I mean, there's many different sectors that they are very good at. In the case of Cambodia, you know, probably in UK, you buy an expensive bicycle, it's made in Cambodia. Yeah, okay. There's many different aspects, of course, in the case of the Philippines. You probably know that Philippines export a lot of agricultural products, from bananas, right, to coconut also, to seafood industry. So I think there's so many things that the whole region working together. In the case of mainland Southeast Asia, ASEAN, these are the rice producing countries, right? Thailand, Vietnam, Cambodia export a lot of rice to the region, but also China and around the world. So again, I cannot emphasize that we don't have to work across, say, 2 or 3 member states. But there are certain areas that we do. For example, I just give an example, Japan. They invest in what considered to be 1+1 or 1+2. So they have their manufacturing, say, in Thailand. But the +1 could be in Cambodia, +2 could be Cambodia and Laos, PDR. The same thing where they say invest in Vietnam, and the +1, +2 could be in Laos and Cambodia. Or in the case of Malaysia, they could also follow that format as well. So these are all the things that is happening, being transformed rapidly in the region. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Kao Kim Hourn, our 7th WSD Handa Distinguished Lecturer. I'm afraid that it is my duty to have to draw this fantastic lecture to a close. And please do show your appreciation. In the meantime, I will show our appreciation, institutional appreciation to Dr. Kao by presenting him with a certificate of appreciation.
Oh, thank you.